Hello everybody, welcome to Northern Card Gaming. My name is Andrew Brown, and this is episode 4 of Theorycraft. This time it is Glaceon GX, a card we do not need much introduction to. It is a new card coming out at Ultra Prism, and it is incredibly strong. This video will not be very long really, we just gotta go through it, talk about exactly why this card's amazing, and then move on from there. As always, we'll be talking about how the card works and what decks might work with it, as well as threat and weaknesses. It's a bit of a shorter one just due to the fact that there isn't much we can talk about when it comes to the different variations. I've got two variations. I think one's really the main one people have talked about. Another one's a sort of pet one, but I think the main one I'll talk about is the one people will go with. So, without further ado, let's move on to see this new Glaceon card. Obviously, here's the overview. How the deck works, the variants, and then the threats and weaknesses. Threat weaknesses may be an issue, but we'll find out. But first, let's look at Glaceon. It's very good. The ability Freeze and Eyes. As long as Pokemon is your active Pokemon, each of your opponent's Pokemon GX and EX in play in their hand in discard pile has no abilities. This means this means using the EV evolution from Sun and Moon, the one that lets you evolve by attaching an energy, you can do that first turn and shut off your opponent's abilities before they even get to play a Tapu Lele. That's really bad for the opponent, because it means you can just lock them out potentially. If they have no way to get a supporter in their hand, and the only way was Ultra Ball to Lele, well, now they can't do that. Zoroarks are gone as well once this gets set up. Decidueye, gone. These really good and important abilities are shut off entirely by Glaceon, and it's not like you can Alolan Muck it and then be able to use your Decidueye abilities or Zoroark abilities. It's a evolved Pokemon, so only way to shut it off would be Garbodor, and that's shutting off everything instead of just EXs and GXs. But this is shutting down so much that it just might be enough for whatever people need. It's a very good ability. It cannot be stressed how good this ability actually is. Now, it needs a good attack for it to be viable as an attacker itself, because it has to be in the active, as I said, and also cards like Magnezone, which is an on-EX ability, won't be shut off. So, or Celebi won't be shut off. So a lot of Pokemon that you might want to shut off, you can't with Glaceon. So maybe a deck like Tapu, Bulu, Vikavolt might actually be very good because of this. But we'll see. I just have to set up, and this does stop the setup. The attack, Frost Bullet, for watercolor double colorless, is 90, and this attack does 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. It is Night Spear, it's Darkrai Night Spear, but it is in a very insane card. Maybe this attack's very good for this type of card, because it's doing 120 and then 30 to the bench, and that means you're putting things in range for later game, and you're shutting off abilities. That's the big thing. It's a card that can turn off abilities. That's quite an okay attacker. That's pretty insane. If the attack wasn't a very good, mightn't seem as much play, but the fact the attack is good enough for it to be able to pepper damage across the board, it makes the ability even better, because you can have 4 of these and they can't Guzma out of it. Although it could Guzma into your own Lele potentially if you're playing your own Lele, but you might just be able to turn off to keep your Pokemon low so they can't Guzma out of the lock, and that would be annoying if they could Guzma out of it. A bit like the old Trevenant, where they could lock out of the items, but you could keep you could then use your items. Time be Lysander out of the active, so you can then use your items. But this card has got the same issue as that old Trevenant. So GX attack, it's okay for the same attack cost, which is very good. 50 times the amount of damage countered on your opponent active. So if you hit Night Spear for 90-30, that's now doing 150 to that bench Pokemon that has 30. Another one of those Night Spear attacks, and you can knock it out with Polar Spear. So it's a good knockout at the end of your turn. So this card is incredible. It's a brilliant card. Weak to Metal's not great though, as we'll talk about in threats weaknesses. But overall, it is incredibly strong. So we're going to move on here to the variants that you can use. One of them, and the main one I think, is Disruption. It's a card that is built for this type of deck, for Disruption. It disrupts the opponent, and then you can just play all these different hammers, red card, delinquent. In my opinion, if you're able to get a Sylveon on turn 1, red card the opponent, and delinquent, they're pretty much not good. They're not in a good place. They're very, very, very not in a good place at all. The fact you can do that on turn 1, on the turn, your turn 1, and just hopefully lock out the opponent because they can't get Ultra Ball for Lele, or they can't do anything like that. It's a potentially very, very damaging effect. So Sylveon Mill, no, it's not Sylveon, Glaceon Mill might be an actual card. Glaceon Disruption might be a thing. So being able to E-Hammer, Crushing Hammer, red card, delinquent, constantly throughout the game, it's a pretty insane card. The fact it's how I think the deck will mainly be played, because Glaceon's such a disruption card. You may as well, and you need to have it in the active, which means it has to attack, or you can mill them out. But really, that's the issue with Glaceon, is the fact you have to attack with it. So that means your deck has to be able to disrupt, and the attack is very, very good along with disruption. Personally, because it means you can turn off so many decks by just having no abilities, and then the energy to take off all their energy cards and all their resources. So I think this is going to be the main variant that is used in this Glaceon deck. I think it's going to be disruption. My idea, though, was using a very old idea of strafing to try strafe.deck. I call it strafe.deck. You're already playing EVs, so you could play Umbreon, and then you could play maybe some Dark. And because you're attacking with Umbreon mainly, you may as well play Dark Energy and then Rainbow on double colorless, because then you could use Glaceon's attack if you really wanted to. And the way the deck works is effectively you go Umbreon at the start, and you keep strafing for 60, retreating into the Glaceon to stop the opponent using their abilities. But it's the fact you're constantly retreating and you're saving prizes. Maybe you can even Ace Arola. You can spam that kind of thing. You can constantly keep hitting. They've both got the same attack as well. They've both got Umbreon's got the same attack as Glaceon, so that also works. But it's the fact you can go straight out into Glaceon and constantly keep switching and constantly keep strafing away and hopefully saving your prizes, that I think it potentially could be a deck. Is it better than the standard disruption? Probably not. You need a lot more things within it. You need to change the energy. The energy could annoy you, especially people playing E-Hammer themselves. That's Rainbow Energy going. That's your double colorless going. So that's one thing I forgot to mention. You can use Aqua Patch on Glaceon on the bench once, which is pretty cool. But that's what it's an idea. It's an okay idea. The issue is, of course, that a lot of fighting types will run you over because of Umbreon, but then again, you're saving yourself from, you can stop the Lycan Rocks because of Glaceon. You can stop a lot of things because of Glaceon's ability. So, it's an idea called Strafe.deck just for a laugh, but really it's an idea. Is it a very good idea? Probably not, but it's there if people really want to use it. But this card is inherently strong itself, so maybe disruption is the best way to go about it. Now, the important thing to realize here is the threats and weaknesses. I put a lot of metal thing here. That's basically a lot of metal, good metal stuff. That really is the biggest weakness we have right now, is the threats and weaknesses. That has to be the worst thing, because of the fact that the threats and weaknesses are so dangerous, so horrible for this deck, especially the fact that Glaceon's coming out in the same set as Dustman, Necrozma, Magnezone. It doesn't shut off Magnezone. Red and Steel was in the last set. Mount Coronet. This deck, if it sets up, might just ruin it, because annoyingly though, the first attack of Dustman Magnezone doesn't kill the Glaceon outright. You might need Kukui, and maybe people do play Kukui because of this, but it is the fact it doesn't shut off the Magnezone, which is the main component. That maybe if you're a deck and you're playing 4 Bridgets, maybe by this point, maybe you have to play 4 Bridgets in decks going forward because of this, you'll be able to still set up. And if you can set up as Dustman Magnezone, you should run over Glaceon just because of the fact it's metal. So I think this is the biggest threat to Glaceon is this kind of thing. And another threat is that people might just change how they play decks. They might just play a lot more Bridget, like 4 Bridgets, and then play Zoroark, so that they not Zoroark, they can shut up like Glaceon, but play 4 Bridgets and all these different supporters just so they can get the Bridget off, and just so they can then start setting up. And if they get the Bridget off and they start setting up their Pokemon, maybe the deck won't be as big, especially a deck like Magnezone, Duskmane, where energy's going away anyway. The energy's not on the board, so you can't a hammered away, or a more crushing hammer in this case. So it's maybe an issue. I don't know. It's going to be one of those weird ones that maybe it does just push Glaceon out of contention a bit more than people want it to. But in the same vein, maybe Four Bridges isn't enough, and the odds of drawing it won't first turn won't be as high as people want to be, and maybe Metal just does overrun everything, and uh, even nobody pulls the trigger on Glaceon. But I'm sure somebody will pull the trigger on it because it is such a good deck and it is such a good card, and it stops the deck that won the recent London Internationals, which is Glaceon Zoroark, from really setting up. So that's really all we have to say on the card. Genuinely, it's a very, very easy card to talk about because there isn't much theory crafting we need to do. I wanted to do a video on it because I do think it deserved a video. It really does deserve a video because it is such a good card. But the card needs, I think, to be shown off in the current meta. It needs to be tested against the current meta that's going to be in the first regionals after Ultra Prism is released. And from there it will depend on how good the set it like on how good these cards actually are. I personally think it's going to come in and do very, very well. Will it do a Gobblor thing and have 25 or 26 or 20? I think it's 25, 26 in the top 32. Probably not, but I think it will. I think people will play around the idea of Glaceon. So what actually might happen is a lot of other decks start doing well just because other decks are so scared of Glaceon, they're playing a bit of a less consistent, in theory, build. Unless playing Four Bridges is more consistent, but you might get cloggy and all sort of stuff. And if you can't get rid of them with Zoroark, we'll have to see and find out. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. This has been NCG's Theorycraft. I've been Andrew Brown, and I will see you next time. Thank you very much for watching.